Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. This week I'm using the piece of cake stamp set. It's a photopolymer stamp set, which I really love because it means that when you're stamping you can see right through the stamp through to the card. And if you're trying to line two pieces up, it's just so easy. And it also comes with its own punch. For this card, I am using the punch, but for quite a few of the cards I've made so far, you don't need the punch. So if you don't have the punch, the pieces are actually quite easy to cut out, but I love the versatility of having the punch and just how quick it makes it. So let's start by looking at what my card is. So this is the card I've made. I wanted to make some more masculine cards, and so this is what I've chosen. I'm going to do the same card, but I'm going to vary the colours just slightly. I'm going to make the background with the seaside spray rather than the night of navy like this one. It's a really easy card. Once you get started, it comes together really, really quickly. So let's get the pieces ready. I'm starting off with a piece of seaside spray, and I've cut the card in half so that it's cut, you can see here, look, it's cut at 5.5 by 8.5, and I've scored it down the middle at 4 1/4. I'm just going to fold that over, and then I need a piece of Whisper White, and this is cut at 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to need one for the front and I'm going to need another one for the inside. And there's not even a lot of stamping to do on this. Let me get the card back again. You can see that I've only stamped the birthday cake and the candles and a happy birthday, and that's it. Now let's start with some stamping. I've taken the happy birthday sentiment from here, and I'm just going to ink it up in Night of Navy. And I'm going to stamp it just in the bottom right hand corner. Let's have a look. There we go. And while you've got your Night of Navy out, just on a piece of scrap Night of Navy card, you just need to stamp the little cake stand. So that's what that little piece there is. It's just the cake stand. But I've already got a spare one stamped, so I don't need to do another one right now. I am just going to clean my stamp here though. There we go. Okay. And while we're stamping as well, I'll just move that to one side. I'm going to stamp the cake. So I've used my layering ovals and the scallop, and this is the third. If you start from the largest and count backwards, this is the third oval, and this is the second oval from starting at the largest and counting down. This is the second largest scallop. I've cut the scallop out in the Night of Navy, and I've cut the ordinary oval just in Whisper White, and this is the one that we're going to put our little cake onto. And I've got my stamps ready. I've got the candles on one, and I've got the cake on a second one, and I need to cut out this little cake stand so that I know where to stamp. And you just need to line it up in the top half here. Let's just pop this in. Ooh, just a bit tricky to see without getting my head in the shot here. Okay, there we are. And we will need the punch again in a couple of minutes because we'll need to cut the cake out. But as I said earlier, if you haven't got the punch, it's not one that you have to have straight away. It's not necessary. Okay, so I'm just going to line up this little cake stand sort of in the middle of my oval, but I'm not going to glue it down yet. And I'm going to get the cake that has like the little icing layers, as though the icing's running down. But you see, you've got, what, 6 different cakes that you can choose. So you'll find one that's going to work for your card. But I thought for this one, I wanted a masculine card, so I didn't want anything flowery or weddingy. And so I just chose the one with the icing. And then I just need to get my ink. Excuse me a moment. There we are. So I'm using Smoky Slate, and I'm using it full strength. And first of all, I'm going to ink it up, and I'm going to stamp it as though it's sitting on top of the cake stand, like that. I'm just going to move the cake stand out of the way, and then I'm going to ink up the candles and put those on the top. And this is what I was meaning about having the photopolymer. You can see right through. You can see through the stamp, and so you can line it up so that, you know, the two images match together really well. I don't need the candles anymore, so I'll just clean that stamp. I am going to need the cake one again though. So just on a little piece of scrap white, all you need to do is stamp this one, and then we're going to cut it out. And I think I had one already stamped, but I can't see it. So I'm just going to get a little piece of scrap. I can't see where I've put that one. So I'm going to get a little piece of scrap white and stamp just the cake part. You don't need the candles again, but I'm just stamping the cake part again, just like that. And that's it for stamping, unless you want to do more stamping on the inside of the card or on the envelope. But actually, that's all the stamping I'm doing for today. So I'm going to pop this ink back, and I'm just going to get out some of my blend pens. And I've got the Night of Navy ones out. I'm not sure that I'm going to use those. I think I'm just going to use the Balmy Blue ones, like I did on this card. And for the, oops, rolling away. And for the cake that we stamped on the little piece of scrap, I'm just going to colour the icing that looks like it's dribbling down in the darker Balmy Blue. I'm not doing it brilliantly, I'm just going over some of the dark, some of the areas to make it look like the icing. Don't worry if you go over the lines, because we're going to go over the whole of it with the light blue in a moment. There we are. And then I'm just going to use the lighter Balmy Blue and go over the whole lot. I'm actually doing it with the nib part, not the brush part, but you choose whatever you want. And you can see the 2 different variants in the colour here. You could also use the fine tip glue pen. I've seen it done where people have gone over just where the icing is running with a fine tip glue pen, and then when it dries, it sort of, that little bit looks like a mirror glaze almost. It's quite shiny. But I don't need that for this card, but it is quite a nice effect. And if you wanted, you could go over your cake with Wink of Stella, just over where the icing is as well. That would look pretty. Okay, so now I'm going to punch this out, but you can see that I can't get my fingers far enough into the punch to hold this. So I could either put a piece of sticky note on, let's just cut a piece off, or you could hold it with tweezers as well. So I'm going to do it this way, where you just put a little piece of, that's where the adhesion is on the sticky note, just put it in like that, and that means that you can hold it in. Or you could do it with your tweezers. Let me see if I can just see where mine are. Here. I'll just take the sticky note off for a moment. So you could pop it on tweezers and then hold it, whoop, as she says, and drops it. then just hold it. Oh, it's because every time I press on these tweezers, of course, they open, because I've got the ones where you press to open them instead of press to close. So you could hold it like this on punch, or I'm going to go back to using my post-it note. So this is the way I really like to do it best. Okay, and then just measure so that it's the same distance on each side of the cake, and top and bottom, and then punch. That way, if you use like the post-it notes or the tweezers, it means you can use much smaller pieces of scrap paper as well and still be able to get them into the punch. Okay, let's get some glue. So I'm going to take the little cake stand back again, and I'm actually going to attach it now underneath the cake here. Oops. And then I'm going to take one of my yellow blends, doesn't matter which one, and I'm just going to colour in the little flames to the candles. I'm not going to colour the candles themselves, although you could do if you wanted to. I just don't need to on mine. And then I'm going to attach this. I'm going to attach this first. I was going to put the cake on first, but I'm actually going to attach this first. So let's put this onto the blue scalloped oval. And you know, this is a really nice card template to use for all sorts of different cards. You know, you just vary the picture in here, vary the image. You could do your writing in here as well as an image, and it makes a lovely card every time. Okay, so now that I've got that attached, I'm going to put the little cake on, and I'm just going to put a couple of dimensions on it, like that. And I'm going to put it over the cake on here. And that just gives the cake a little bit extra dimension. It makes the cake really pop out. Okay, so let's do this part of the decorating. I have 2 pieces of designer series paper, and I've got one. This is from the Sail Away suite. And this is a little piece from the new In Colour designer series paper, and I love the patterns in these this time. Let me just show you. So this is really pretty, and then you get script, and I love script on things. I think it makes a really classy card. And then the other 2 patterns are this like diamond shaped dotty lines that I'm using, and a small gingham. So they're going to be really nice. And these are the patterns for the new catalogue. So if you order the 6x6 in the neutrals or the regals or the brights, they're all this pattern. I still do have quite a lot of the patterned paper from the last catalogue, so I'm trying to use that first, but then I will be ordering the new patterns. Then I have my 2 pieces of DSP. This is the Sail Away paper, the bigger piece, and it's 4 3/4 by 1 3/4. And then my smaller one is 4 1/8 by 1 1/2. And I'm wondering if I've cut that just a little short. It should really have been 4 1/4, but it doesn't matter. It'll still work. And then I'm going to use my triple banner punch, and I'm just going to put this in as far as it'll go. And because it's not the exact same width as the banner punch, I'm just making sure that it's even on both sides. Okay. Let's move that little piece. And then I'm doing the same with the Seaside Spray piece. That does fit in to here, so it's easier to line up. There we go. Now, these pieces I'm going to save. Let me see. Here are the pieces that I cut out when I was making the other card. And I don't know if you remember, but I used these kind of pieces on one of my cards. Here it is. It's one of the Rooted in Nature cards. And can you see how I used them just at the bottom here? It was a much narrower piece, of course, but I'm saving these pieces because I want to do a couple of cards with the designer series paper. And I thought it'd be quite nice to sort of have them a bit like this, or have different patterns on it, and be able to use them. Let me lay them down so you can see them a bit better. Be able to use them under a card. So they created a pattern like that. I thought that might look quite nice. But we'll give it a go and see. So I'm not getting rid of those this time. Right, let's have these ones attached. I do like this side of the paper, but I also like this one with the little lighthouses on. And I only found out by accident a couple of days ago that the lighthouse in High Tide and the lighthouse in the Sailing Away stamp set are the same size, so you can use the die cuts on them, either the one from High Tide or the one from the Sailing Away set, which I thought was quite nice. Okay, so I just attach that one there. This second one is going to overlap slightly, and I just overlap it a little bit at the bottom. I don't worry about the height at the top. I just overlap it a little bit like that. The very last thing we're going to need for the base of the card here is some of the white flax ribbon. And you can see I only put a little bit on. And because it's going to be a masculine card, I don't like to put bows and flouncy bits on. So I'm using this flax ribbon, which is really nice. And I'm going to attach it just with a little piece of tear tape. You don't need much. I'm going to just stick this across the card where I think the ribbon will be. And I don't want it to be adhered down at all the edges, because I quite like when the ribbon just stands proud a little bit and sort of gives it another dimension even. I don't want that to be quite that far over. There we go. I wanted it sort of to be lined up evenly in the middle of the card. And then I'm going to attach this to its base. And you can see how quickly this card comes together. It really is a nice, easy template to use. And don't think you just have to use it for birthday cards or for masculine cards. It works for anything. If you used, let's go back to this. If you use this for a wedding card, you could use this cake or this cake. And it also has the Mr. and Mrs. and sign on as well. You could put these little flowers on the top, make it look like a wedding cake. You could make it for a child's cake. You could make this like a chocolate cake or just the happy birthday. Put the lollipops on. I think it's a nice versatile shape and a versatile kind of pattern that you can do all sorts of occasions with just this one set. Okay, now let's find my cake. Here's my cake. I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of this because although we've got dimensionals here, I actually want the whole piece to stand proud as well. And I'm going to put dimensionals at both sides. Sometimes when I have things built up on the left-hand side, I only put dimensionals to the right. But because this is just a thin piece of paper and not card, I think you can put the dimensionals on both sides. Leave a gap in the middle because that's where the ribbon's going to be. And then just line this up wherever you want it, and how far over you have it just depends on where you like the oval to be. I'm going to pop it there. And then the last thing I did on here were the little 3 blue pearls, and they were from the set that has the gold and the silver pearls in, the metallic pearl set. And what I did with one of my blends, actually the Dark Night of Navy, I just coloured over them. So I found the brush end and I coloured over it like that, and then I left it to dry for, well, I coloured them just before I did the video, so they've probably been drying for about 15 minutes, and that way they're always going to match whatever your project is, and you're not going to get little bits of ink on your finger. And I measured so that it was in line with the top of this paper. Popped one there, and then I popped one underneath, and then one to the left, so that it gave sort of the impression of a corner. And it made it look like it was the same distance from the top on the right hand side as this piece of paper was from the left hand side and the top. And I thought that just finished it off. If you didn't want to put your pearls there, you could add them round the cake, or one near the happy birthday and two near the cake, and I think that would look great too. So there we are. They're my two cards for today. I do still need to put my white card inside in here, and it is the same size as the front, as I said earlier, and I'm just going to put it in here. You could stamp on and do the cake again, or one of the other sentiments, but I don't tend to do that until I know who I'm sending it to, and what sort of sentiment would be appropriate for that person. So there you go, that's my card for today, and for the whole week I'm using this same stamp set, the Piece of Cake stamp set. So I hope you enjoyed watching that, and I'll see you all again on Sunday. Thanks everybody, bye bye.